In my last video, I exposed toxic gamers, and today it's time to expose AAA games. I'll be sharing 10 reasons why AAA games just don't feel the same as they used to. Now, a lot of people might get offended by this video, but let me be clear, this isn't made for clickbait or just to get views. Every reason I'm about to share is 100% genuine, and many gamers agree that these problems do exist in today's AAA titles. Still, if my words hurt anyone, I want to apologize in advance because my intention is not to go against your feelings. With that said, let's start the video. One major issue we see today is the release of unfinished games. It has almost become a trend to launch half-baked, incomplete titles and then keep fixing them later through updates. These bugs make us wonder if the games were even tested before release. If I start listing them, the list won't end. Cyberpunk 2077, GTA Trilogy, Defective Edition, Star Wars Jedi Survivors PC port, The Last of Us PC port, Cities Skylines 2, Mind's Eye, the biggest flop of 2025, and many more. Then there are games like Redfall and The Lord of the Rings Gollum that promise epic adventures but deliver experiences that can't even run properly for 10 minutes. And optimization is a complete disaster. I still remember when my PC couldn't even run Starfield because the game was so unoptimized. All of this is frustrating, waiting months or even years for a game, only to see it fail to run properly at launch. Now let's talk about the kind of games that make big promises but fail to deliver even a single one. Remember The Order 1886? The hype around it was insane. Sure, the visuals were great, but the game was filled with cutscenes and felt more like a tech demo than an actual game. It had style, but no substance. And what about Battlefield 2042? We paid full price for what was essentially just a multiplayer game, yet it launched without basic features like scoreboards, and the servers couldn't even handle the load. Then there's Crime Boss, Rocket City, a complete joke. They brought in some of the best actors in the world, but what's the point if their lines weren't even delivered properly? The writing was terrible, and instead of an epic crime saga, it felt like a cheap Payday clone. Honestly, when developers hype up a game and all we get is disappointment, it's frustrating. We gamers deserve better. There used to be a meme among gamers that you should never ask how many games in their library they've actually played, otherwise they'll get offended. But now, I think there's a new meme: open your PC and count how many games you have versus how many game launchers you're forced to install. These days, every big publisher has their own launcher. Rockstar launcher, Ubisoft Connect, CD Projekt's Red launcher, Minecraft's launcher, Valorant's launcher, the list could go on forever. You might ask why this is happening. The simple answer is money. If publishers sell their games on Steam, they have to give 30% of their revenue to Valve. To avoid this cut, companies release their own launchers, which, to be fair, does save them a lot of money. I understand that part, but in the process, gamers end up suffering. We uninstall games, yet we're still stuck keeping multiple launchers on our PCs. And each of these launchers comes with countless bugs, making the experience even worse. Having a separate launcher for every single game is just inconvenient. Wouldn't it be so much better if everything stayed on one platform like Steam or Epic Games, with no need for all these extra launchers? Then we have these big companies that announce their AAA games and create massive hype, but what do we actually get in the end? Delay after delay. Take Ubisoft's Beyond Good and Evil 2, for example. It was officially announced back in 2010, and in 2017 we got a trailer that pushed the hype even further. But what happened next? The game's director left the company in 2020, and to this day we have no idea what's going on with the project. It honestly feels like they're playing with our emotions. Speaking of Ubisoft, remember the Skull and Bones story? It looked like it was going to be an open-world pirate adventure similar to Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and it was first announced in 2016. From there, gamers were stuck waiting. The game finally released in February 2024, but only after being delayed 6 times. Announce a release date, then delay. Announce again, delay again. That cycle kept repeating, and by the time it came out, the excitement was long gone. I would say that game companies are becoming more and more money hungry. When gamers play their favorite titles, they often have to spend a good amount of money just to bring their character up to a decent level. Forget mobile games, they already have a bad reputation for being free to play and then earning through microtransactions. But what has happened to PC and console games? First, they make us buy the game at full price, and then they force microtransactions on top of it. That's pure greed. It feels like they're trying to squeeze money out of us at every stage, whether it's NBA 2K or EA Sports FC. These games already cost a lot, and then they push virtual currencies, loot boxes, and subscriptions, which indirectly make the game pay to win. If you don't spend extra money, how can you even compete with others? And then there's GTA 5. Rockstar completely ruined the in-game economy with shark cards. They raised the prices of almost everything in GTA Online, from cars to clothes, while deliberately lowering mission payouts just to force players into buying shark cards. At least in this case, it's an online game, so you can somewhat understand the excuse. But what about Ubisoft? Even in single-player games like Assassin's Creed, they're selling costumes and skins. That just shows how far this greed has gone. Welcome to the world of modern gaming, where visuals are absolutely stunning but gameplay mechanics often fall flat. Take the Callisto Protocol, for example. It was marketed as the spiritual successor to Dead Space, even created by some of the original Dead Space veterans. The graphics were breathtaking, with realistic details and impressive ray tracing. But what's the point of all that if the combat turns out to be some of the worst we've seen? And I'm not the only one saying this, reviewers pointed it out as well. Even if you look at Sony's catalog of exclusives, most of them deliver top-notch visuals and cinematic experiences, but because of that, the gameplay sometimes gets left behind. Spider-Man 2 was a fantastic game and fun to play, but after a while, I found myself getting bored. The endless buttons smashing during fights made me wish enemies would just end quicker. Doing the same repetitive thing over and over again takes away from the excitement. But the gaming industry also has a dark side that very few people actually know about. Developers often have to work 14 to 15 hours a day, and sometimes all 7 days of the week. Take Uncharted 4's development, for example. According to Jason Schreier, developers worked through entire nights and even on weekends. Sure, Uncharted 4 turned out to be an amazing game, but at what cost? Many developers left Naughty Dog after The Last of Us because of the same reasons. Rockstar's developers went through something similar. Some of them were working 50 to 60 hours a week, to the point where a few even collapsed from exhaustion and had to be taken to the hospital. These companies keep expanding the scale of their games, but instead of hiring more developers or giving projects more time, they pile massive pressure on the existing teams. Why? Because hiring more people or giving more time would cut into their profits, and profit always comes first for these companies. Today's games suffer from a serious lack of innovation. Have you noticed how we're drowning in the same kinds of titles, first-person shooters, massive open-world RPGs, and endless battle royales? It feels like everyone is just copy-pasting the same template to chase success. Ubisoft keeps repeating its open-world formula. Sony focuses heavily on cinematic-style games that all feel similar, and Call of Duty releases the same first-person formula every single year. Speaking of yearly releases, FIFA, Madden, and NBA 2K are no better. They make only minor changes each year, but still charge full price. Even Bethesda continues to rely on game design that feels stuck in the past. And when people criticize Starfield, instead of listening, the developers went after the players themselves. It's games like Elden Ring or Zelda Tears of the Kingdom that truly remind us what innovation looks like. But the sad truth is that mediocrity has become the industry standard. Think back to childhood. Every PC and console game we played back then felt unique and different from the others. Everything was new, and companies were experimenting with fresh ideas. Now it's just copy-paste formulas designed to print money. And then we have the issue of online-only games, where developers force you to stay connected to the internet even if you just want to play the story or single-player mode. Because of this, there are times when GTA 5 won't even start properly, since its Buggy launcher automatically switches to offline mode. Take Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, for example. It's an action co-op game with legendary voice performances, but here's the catch, it's online only, even if you're playing solo. No surprise, it received massive hate for that decision. And this isn't new. Back in 2013, SimCity completely failed for the same reason, being locked behind online-only access. Payday 3 repeated the same mistake, and despite so many examples, these companies haven't learned a thing. Do they not understand that we're not online 24/7? Sure, the excuse is that it helps prevent piracy, but for how long will that be more important than giving players a proper experience? What could possibly matter more to them than the enjoyment of the very people who buy their games? All the problems I've talked about so far really boil down to one root cause: is money. This usually happens when a studio becomes too big. When a game company first starts out, the team is passionate, funds are limited, but their energy is at its peak. Because of that, they try their best to create something amazing. But the moment one of their games becomes a big hit and the company starts growing, things change. They hire more people, start raising money from investors, and the focus shifts from making great games to making more money. Now they're spending $50 to $100 million on a single project, and if that game flops, all that money goes down the drain. Investors lose everything, the company risks shutting down, and developers could lose their jobs. That's why big AAA publishers avoid taking risks. They go into risk avoidance mode. The goal becomes simple: make a game, but don't take chances. Don't try something new that might fail. Instead, keep repeating whatever formula is already working. That's the reason AAA games end up being repetitive, greedy, and often unfinished. On the other hand, indie games usually turn out better because they aren't backed by huge corporations. Instead, it's often just a small team or even a single developer who is extremely passionate about their work. But here's the catch: if their game becomes a massive hit and they expand into a big studio, sooner or later, they also end up in the same position as AAA companies. So these were the points that, in my opinion, show why AAA games don't feel the same as they used to. The truth is, only gamers can fix this, because developers will understand what we really want only if we raise our voices. And for those of you who want to know about toxic gamers, the kind of people who try to find faults in every good game, click on the video on the right. If you enjoyed this one, don't forget to hit like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel, because your support means a lot. I'll see you in the next video with another interesting topic.